He's Tyler Jones. I am Harrison Graham. We're going to dive into five coaches on the hot seat in college football as we enter the stretch run of the season. Some critical games coming up for these coaches and these programs to convince their athletic directors that they are worthy of sticking around for another season. So, Tyler, let's jump into it. And I think the name we got to talk about first is a hot topic one. Jimbo Fisher, the head coach of Texas A&M. We got two statuses, hot or warm. I'm putting Jimbo in the hot status, Tyler. I think A&M boosters and fans cannot be happy with what's taken place since they almost made the college football playoff back in the COVID year in 2020.
Yeah, they paid Jimbo Fisher a lot of money to be competing for championships. And although Texas A&M is not a program, historically speaking, that has competed for championships, the money's been invested to do so. And they're not getting that return on investment.
Yep.
Since that Orange Bowl year, they've really struggled. I think the clock is ticking for Jimbo Fisher's time there at Texas A&M. You look at the remaining schedule, other than Abilene Christian, none of it's a guarantee.
You lose at Mississippi State at home this week, it's very possible it's over. Like, I'm calling that a must-win. This is not a very good Mississippi State team this year. Will Rogers has not played that well at quarterback, even though he is a veteran. You lose that game at home, I think the hot seat stuff really ramps up. Obviously, they're not going to lose to ACU at home in a couple of weeks. I'm not saying LSU's a must-win on the road, but if you lose to Mississippi State, it might be. So you got a couple of tests coming up for Jimbo.
If you lose to Mississippi State, you're not allowed to wear maroon anymore.
Because only Mississippi State can.
Right, exactly.
The Maroon Bowl will go to the Mississippi State Bulldogs. So I think that's a game to watch this weekend. If A&M loses that one, look out. I think we might go from hot to scalding in College Station for Jimbo Fisher. So what do you guys think? Should Jimbo Fisher get fired? Type F if you think he should be fired, or type K if you think Texas A&M should keep him. Fire Jimbo. Try something else. It's not working. Get the Fs going or the Ks in the comments. All right, from one SEC coach to another, Tyler, Sunbelt Billy Napier.
They were ready to fire him after the Utah game.
Yeah, and look, he kind of steadied the ship there for a while. They got to 5-2, but now they've lost 2 in a row, including a bad loss to Arkansas over the weekend, who's had a terrible year. He's 11-11 at Florida. I've only got him in the warm status because it is only year 2. Typically, coaches in college at least get a third season, but not always. But he just hasn't been able to get any momentum, Tyler. It seemed like he was starting to, 5-2, got into the top 25, and then you've lost 2 in a row, got blown out by Georgia, and you can't be losing to Arkansas with how they've played this year.
Beyond just the win and loss column, he has not done a good job on the recruiting trail and getting this Florida program the talent that they really need.
They lost Jaden Rashada. Remember that debacle with the NIL deal?
Yeah. So I look at that. Billy Napier, his time might be coming to an end sooner rather than later. And you look at that Florida program. We mentioned the history of Texas A&M. Florida, I would argue, has only had 2 successful head coaches in their entire history, with Spurrier and with Urban Meyer.
Yep.
Everyone else has come and gone just like that, and Billy Napier looks like he's another one of those.
And look, it's warm for now, but look at this remaining schedule, man. At LSU, at Mizzou.
They might go 0-3
Florida
down the
State
stretch.
at home. None of those games you're expected to win, but if you go 0-3 and go to 5-7 and miss a bowl game, you could go from warm to hot and potentially get fired very quickly. So if I'm Billy Napier, I got to be thinking, I got to find a win here somewhere. Like, I got to win one of these 3 games. That's why you couldn't lose to Arkansas. I mean, that is just brutal.
Ask Dan Mullen about how quickly things can turn in Gainesville.
There's no doubt about it. That thing spiraled out of control quickly, and based on the schedule, that could happen here as well with Florida. More coaching candidates on the hot seat to discuss in just a moment, but hey, want to have fun on your college football Saturdays? There's no better place to do it than it is with Prize Picks. Football is in full swing, and I'm having a blast winning money every single Saturday with college football picks, but I also play other sports with Prize Picks. I even cross over my entries sometimes. NFL, college football, college basketball is here, the NBA as well. It is time for you to cash in with some Prize Picks entries. So here's how it works. You pick 2 to 6 players on any given entry. You can cross over sports, cross over games, no problem. And the more players you pick, the more return you can get if you do win those entries. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get a deposit match up to $100. All you do is pick a player, and if they will go for more or less than their stats, parlay it with some other players, you are good to go. prizepicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS. Get started with Prize Picks today. Okay, Dave Aranda, Tyler, at Baylor, has had one of the most bizarre tenures of any coach I can remember. He takes over from Matt Rule, a team that almost beat Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship in his last season before he went to the NFL. Goes 2-7 in his first year, taking over that Rule program. Then he wins a Big 12 championship in year 2. Last year with a lot of hype. I think they were preseason top 10. He went 6-7. And now they're 3-6 this season.
And he was a popular name a couple years ago for some big jobs.
USC wanted him. He declined the interview. They pivot to Lincoln Riley after the season. He's 9-13 the last 2 years, and 2 of his 3 wins this year, Tyler, 3-point win against Cincinnati, who's terrible, and a 1-point win against UCF, 2 of the new 4 members of the Big 12. That's not a good look, man. It's been ugly in Waco, especially this season.
Yeah, I know that we have this at hot, but I would still be very surprised if we see Dave Aranda let go at the end of the season, because this is a Baylor program that doesn't have the expectations of the A&Ms or the Floridas, the other ones we've talked about here. And when you look at that athletic department, football, basketball, across the board, they don't fire coaches a lot. Remember, It wasn't too long ago, Harry, the Baylor you and I grew up with was a dumpster fire, the worst program in the Power 5. They are still, as bad as they may be right now, a long ways away from those days that they were before. I tend to think Aranda still has one more season left to figure this out.
You might be right. The only reason I would counter that is we look at their remaining schedule. Not easy, by the way. Tough roadie this weekend against Kansas State, rivalry game against TCU, and a home game against West Virginia, a West Virginia team that is scrappy, if nothing else. 3-9 is not off the table here. 4-8 is probably best case scenario. The only reason I would counter you, Tyler, is yes, they're much better than they were 15, 20 years ago, but the reason they are is because they've had some legitimate high-level seasons. I mean, Art Briles had them competing for championships. Obviously, we know what happened there.
Right.
Matt Rule got them to a Big 12 championship. Dave Aranda himself won a Big 12 championship. So maybe you could say, well, he's done it before, you can do it again. But they have just tailed off so poorly these past 2 seasons. And one more reason I could see it happening is it's a new-look Big 12.
Right.
If they don't think he's the right guy to navigate them to be one of the stable programs at the top of this conference moving forward, then this is the time to make a move with more teams coming in. So we'll see what happens. I think these final 3 weeks and how they play, wins or losses, just how they perform and compete is going to be critical.
Yeah, it's going to be something to watch. And the other thing about this new Big 12, Utah looks like the program that is the elite of this new league. They're the team to beat. But it's not like it's a significant gap of some sort.
It's going to be a league of parity.
Baylor, Oklahoma State, Utah, Kansas State will all be there among the top teams competing in this new conference. So with that said, Baylor has to do what they can to put their best foot forward. I would be surprised, but we'll see. Harry, we are talking college football all the time here on Chat Sports as we are counting down to the college football playoff. And these coaching changes are going to be coming in here in a matter of no time.
Yeah, and when notable coaches get fired or walk away, et cetera, we will have coaching hot boards for those programs, video breakdowns here on this channel. So subscribe, don't miss out. Should be a fun couple of months here at Chat Sports. All right, Mario Cristobal, Tyler, at Miami. He's a tricky one because they've recruited pretty well, and they are 6-3 this year, so on the surface, that's an improvement from year 1. But they just have mind-blowing losses, like the Georgia Tech game earlier this year. They can kneel the game out, and they don't do it. They fumble, and Georgia Tech goes 75 yards in 2 plays, and they lose.
Against a bad Georgia Tech team, too.
They lose to NC State over the weekend, who's not very good. So it's like you look at this, and it's like, all right. But you also blow out A&M earlier this year, and you're like, okay, like that's progress, but there's no consistency at all. I think Oregon was kind of like, cool, you can leave. We don't really have a problem with that when he left Oregon. So he's more in the warm category. I would be surprised if he got canned, but looking at this final stretch, the next 2 games are going to be tough at Florida State and then a good Louisville team this year. I'll tell you what, you lose both of those, you cannot lose to Boston College the final week of the season.
Personally, I think Cristobal's a fraud. I mean, this is the same guy that got fired from FIU several years ago.
Yeah.
And I think that you have a guy that is a very good recruiter. But as we see time and time again,
his in-game management is horrific.
Some of these teams hire recruiters and not coaches, and that's what Mario Cristobal is. And Miami, you got all these resources. We know they got money they want to spend on NIL. They can't be satisfied with the results that they're getting, and down the stretch, it's not going to be easy either for the Miami program.
Let's go to Sam Pittman of Arkansas. Huge win for him over Billy Napier in Florida, as we alluded to earlier, but I don't think the Razorbacks can be thrilled with where they're at. They're 3-6 on the season, 9-win campaign a couple of years ago. A lot of hype going into last year with KJ Jefferson, not very good. This year, a lot of hype again, even less good at 3-6. I do think opportunities are there, Tyler, to still potentially make a bowl game. Auburn at home this week is winnable. Florida International should be a win. If you can win those 2, you got a shot against Mizzou at home the final week of the season. Maybe that Florida win gives him some momentum. But before that, things were looking bleak for Pittman at Arkansas.
It ain't looking good. I can tell you that much with Sam Pittman there. He started off so well, and things have just gone downhill ever since. And Arkansas, the expectation there, if you average 8 to 9 wins, they'll love you there. That's all you got to do with that program.
And he did that he did that a couple years ago.
And now it's fallen off since then.
Yeah.
And I know that, they're in the SEC, and Arkansas is not the easiest place to recruit, but they have some great resources, some great facilities. They expect more than what they're given. Sam Pittman, going to be interesting to follow. I lean towards him not getting fired. I think they give him one more year.
Yeah.
But that's a rich program. They could, if anyone can afford a buyout, it would be the Jerry Jones's Arkansas Razorbacks.
Texas and OU coming into the SEC. They're going to want to compete with those teams, no doubt about it. Name a coach that should be fired.
Jimbo!
Before the end of the season. I'm with you. The Jimbo experiment should be over. Drop a name down in the comments. Let us know who
Has
you
Neil
believe.
Brown survived again?
Maybe.
Huh.
We'll see. Name a coach that you guys think should get fired. And be sure to subscribe to the channel. College football news, rumors, coaching hot boards, recruiting, playoff rankings. We do it all. Hit that sub button here at Chat Sports.